So if you want to know what happens to Bitcoin and crypto over the next 3 months, you want to keep watching this video because I'm going to break down some data that could actually forecast what could happen here in the next few months to keep you prepared, as well as talk about one narrative that nobody is talking about in crypto. So if you want to be early to something, if you're always late to narratives and tokens and projects, this is one thing that could really hit big that absolutely nobody is talking about. And I'll talk about that at the end of the video. So make sure to keep watching. Click the subscribe button if you haven't, and we'll go ahead and jump into the Bitcoin chart. Now let's go ahead and lay down some groundwork when it comes to Bitcoin as we prep for the next 3 months. What we know right now is that stocks are at an all-time high. We've broken up, and what we know about Bitcoin is that if stocks lead, Bitcoin tends to follow, as they are highly correlated. And Bitcoin has been ranging in a downtrend over the last few months. And look at it right now, it's currently trying to break out of this downtrend, as you'll see this white X right here. But what I want you to know is, even though it's breaking out, there is still a lower high on the trend. And if you want to go ahead and zoom in, what I mean by lower high is that there hasn't been a close higher than the recent local top, the previous top in the trend line. So what I want you to know is, still, even though Bitcoin is out of this downtrend specifically, it still has not closed actually higher, especially on the daily chart. And so what I want to see is Bitcoin actually break back above this 110 level, okay? And if it can do this up above 110, I do believe that there is an opportunity to continue to retest the all-time high above $112K. $1,000. Stocks are on the move right now, but typically I tend to be a person who always says never chase a pump. So I would personally wait, if you're not in Bitcoin or if you're not in specific cryptos, to wait for a bit of a pullback with Bitcoin. So just understand that we do want to see a higher high here, and if it can't close above 110 on the daily, I believe that potentially this continue back down in range here in the coming months. But there is some good news, and I'll break that down. As I said earlier, there is some data we'll take a look at in a minute. But even before we do that, what I do want to talk about too is there's a couple of different headlines that are out that macro are going to impact Bitcoin and crypto. And that one, there was actually the big beautiful bill that just passed from the government. Now, that's not going to really correlate with crypto or stocks as much. That has a lot to do with taxes and actually even gambling, but I don't think that's going to impact crypto too much. So we won't really get into that. A lot of people were speculative towards that, but we did see that stocks are on the move. So actually the market did like what's going on. The other thing that we want to watch is that the FOMC or the CME Fed Watch, are they going to cut rates in July? Basically, there is a 75% chance that rates will not be cut, and we know that it's likely that those rates will be cut in September and not in July. So that's not going to have a bullish catalyst. But the good news is, based on data historically every 4 years, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about, is that if you look here in Q3, especially in those quote bull market cycles, 2021, back in 2017, if you look at Q3, 4 years ago, Bitcoin was up 25% in Q3, July, August, September, 80% in 2017, and back in 2013, up 40%. So 40, 80, 25%, and currently Bitcoin is up around 2% over the past few days as Q3 just started. But looking at that too, July historically has been a very good month. And so with the stock markets at all-time highs, I do think that Bitcoin is going to have a good July. Meaning, I think crypto is going to have a good July overall. Now, do I think that it can sustain over the whole Q3 period? And I don't, because if you trade, you understand that markets move more in waves than they do go straight up and straight down. So what I do suspect is that July should be good for Bitcoin overall. And historically, you can see here that August tends to be a red month. But every 4 years, as I said earlier, we see a green Q3. And if you notice back in 2021, 13% in 2017, 65% in 2013, 30% up. So August could be green as well. We do know that it's very likely that the Federal Reserve will cut rates in September. So what a speculation is, at least for the bullish time frame here over the next 2 months, even though typically August is red, is that will that news be front run? Because we all know there's always insiders when it comes to markets. So stock markets, if they're going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in July and August, expect crypto and Bitcoin to follow. The one issue that I have is that if the stock market, after it's broken all-time highs, a lot of times what you'll notice too is that it'll have a dip quite afterwards too, right? So it's like swing failure pattern, break the local high, come back down, and then go back higher. There's potential for that. But bottom line, if there are catalysts in the market, if tariff news continues to go well, if some of those tariffs go away, as they said, there are some deadlines in July as well, then we should see the markets continue to do well or hold. And if Bitcoin holds, if it even goes sideways up around 110 to 112, you can expect money to flow into altcoins as well. One way to look at that is to look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. And if you notice Bitcoin dominance, the higher this is, the higher the percentage, the more Bitcoin dominates the crypto market, meaning that Bitcoin price goes up and it eats away at those gains from altcoins. What we want to see is that something that we saw back in last year, right? Here is where we had in November where Bitcoin dominance dropped around 10% or more. We did see that in May when it went from 65% to around 61%, not even quite a 10% move, but moves like that in Bitcoin dominance typically mean that their altcoins are rallying. So you want to be in altcoins prior to that. Now, we see Bitcoin currently, if you were to zoom in here, recently over the past few days has went from 66% to 65%. So a slow downtrend in Bitcoin dominance, but to truly have those altcoin seasons where most people make most of their life-changing gains in crypto, you tend to want to see around a 5%, if not 10% or more pullback in Bitcoin dominance like we saw back in the fall of 2024, where a ton of people made money in both meme coins and AI. So that's something that I'm going to watch. Keep an eye on the Bitcoin dominance chart. We do know right now that historically in this time, in the summertime, when Bitcoin goes sideways, altcoins do pretty well. I've dipped my toes a little bit in altcoins. I don't have a massive amount. Again, based on what we're seeing right now with the bullishness of the Bitcoin chart. If I were to just get rid of all the visuals that you just saw on the chart with the downtrend, and if I were to go to the weekly chart and go up, like, this is not a bearish chart whatsoever. This is a really good looking chart on Bitcoin. In higher time frames, always dominate the lower time frames. So if the weekly chart looks good overall for Bitcoin, if the weekly chart on Sunday can close above 109,200 or so, then that would give Bitcoin an all-time high weekly close, and you could probably expect for prices to continue to at least go sideways, if not up. This is a good-looking chart for Bitcoin. Nothing bearish about it. After the breakdown, it did bounce at the weekly EMA level here, and now we're back up to close to 108, 109K, and honestly, this looks good. So if that looks good, always when you break it down, look at your weekly first, then go to your day chart. How does that look? The daily looks pretty darn good, right? Now, we do know that, again, that we don't have a higher high here, but it looks good. So we could expect maybe potential sideways. If that happens, right, expect Bitcoin dominance to break down more, Ethereum to move up, Solana to move up, other popular meme coins, Farcoin, Pepe, maybe those types of coins as well. A lot of those that tend to be strong. Hyperliquid as well is a big one. Watch those and expect to see some gains in those areas. So with that said, that is what I'm watching for Bitcoin. That is what I think about currently right now. And I think that Q3 could actually be quite well if we continue to follow the data of every 4-year cycle for Bitcoin in Q3. So when we talk about early opportunities in potential life-changing money, we tend to look at narratives in crypto because we know that hype is one thing that tends to lead to prices going up and popular narratives, something that everybody is focused on. Now, one specific thing, right? We had memes, we had AI. And so one thing that nobody is talking about that I think could be big is streaming, okay? Streaming as in live streaming when it comes to quote influencers or people, whether they're launching tokens or not, whether they're gaming, but streaming is one of the most popular things that people watch content with, and there really hasn't been a way to reward actual watchers. There tends to be where people can give money when people are on YouTube, when people are on Twitch, they can give money to the actual person streaming to answer questions. But rewarding and airdropping actual watchers of live streams could be huge. Not only that, but we've seen also an uptick in live streams when it comes to platforms such as Pump Fun, where there's been a lot of live streams with that, and they look to expand on live streaming as well. But don't be shocked if you eventually see an era where so many influencers are live streaming and what's involved is crypto. And disclaimer, I do own a little bit of this token right now, but there are no other tokens out like this and no other projects that I've seen. And one specifically when it comes to streaming is Stream.fun. Now, I don't even want to certainly promote this specific token. I just want to talk about streaming in general. So I don't care whether you buy this token or not. Honestly, not financial advice. I wouldn't buy it if I were you because disclaimer, meme coins and low cap tokens such as this tend to be highly volatile. But the entire point that I'm trying to make is this could be the beginning of something huge when it comes to platforms that are doing something with crypto that really catches hype and attention. So even if it's not Stream.fun, I want you to take a look and to watch out for streaming platforms, especially when it deals with crypto. So a lot of these, what could happen in the future, as we know, so we could see Twitch, YouTube, Pump.fun, or anything, we could see crypto projects actually be able to integrate with these massive platforms where people live stream or create content, potentially even TikTok in the future as well. So I do expect big things to happen that these can integrate where you can actually have token launches, you can actually do buy widgets, you can actually have communication where you can even airdrop your audience. But I think in general, this is one area that I think could really take fire that nobody is talking about right now. But the more time goes, the more online that we get and the more connected we are online. And I think live streams is one of those things as technology continues to go in the future that you're going to see a lot more of day-to-day vlogging, live streams with people. And I think that platforms that integrate crypto are going to be big. So make sure that you keep an eye out on streaming when it comes to crypto and that you want to be early to anything that comes out before it catches hype. And so really that's it for me because what I wanted to talk to you about today is understanding that Q3 could be a massive time when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto. Historically, we've seen massive gains at this time, not only with Bitcoin, but also with altcoins and new narratives, such as I talked about today. Whether it's streaming or whether it's AI or new memes, you want to be on the lookout for tokens that are doing strong and holding well and outperforming even Bitcoin at this time, as we've seen the stock market hit new all-time highs and could continue up over the next few weeks to even months. With that said, I hope you guys got a lot out of this video. If you've not yet subscribed, make sure that you do so below. Make sure to click the like button and share this video if you feel like it was helpful. With that said, you guys have a great rest of your day. Trade safe, and I'll see you on the next one.